against the lockers. Books scatter, papers fly, students freeze. The cheerleader captain towers over her prey, designer heel crushing Jasmine's science project with a sickening crunch. The destruction is methodical, deliberate, public. Phones rise around them, record, share, amplify. Tears streak down Jasmine's face as 30 classmates become silent accomplices. Nobody moves, nobody speaks, nobody helps. Brittany yanks Jasmine's head up by her hair. "Look at them all watching you break." She forces eye contact with the crowd. "This is what happens when you forget who runs this school." Blood trickles from Jasmine's lip. Her eyes change from fear to something colder, deadlier. Little did anyone know Jasmine was already reaching for her phone, thumb hovering over her father's contact. Jasmine Davis stands alone at her new locker. Memories of this morning's military base goodbye still fresh. 3 weeks since Colonel Davis returned from his classified deployment. 3 days since they moved to this small town. New school, new challenges, same prejudices. The halls of Westlake High School buzz with whispers as she navigates to her first class. Eyes follow her, the only black student in a sea of white faces. She keeps her father's advice close. Stand tall. Observe before engaging. Identify allies and threats. Brittany Morgan notices Jasmine immediately. The cheerleader captain's status at Westlake is unquestioned. Her father chairs the school board and owns half the town's businesses. Her territory feels threatened when Mr. Abernathy praises Jasmine's entrance exam scores. "We're always excited to welcome exceptional students," he announces to the class. Brittany's smile tightens. After school, Jasmine reports to Principal Foster's office as requested. The administrator barely looks up from his computer. "Adjustment difficulties are normal for transfer students," he says when Jasmine mentions the cold reception. "Try harder to fit in. Westlake has traditions. Respect them." At home, Colonel Davis notices his daughter's quietness during dinner. His eyes, trained to detect threats in the most hostile territories, see what she's trying to hide. "Trouble at school?" he asks. "Nothing I can't handle." Jasmine straightens her shoulders, mimicking his posture. "You taught me resilience." Later, Colonel Davis visits his private shooting range behind their isolated home. His shots group within a dime-sized cluster at 800 yards. Perfect precision. Military medals locked in his office safe tell a story of his classified career achievements too dangerous to display. The next day, track team tryouts change everything. Coach Martinez clocks Jasmine's 400-meter time, eyes widening at the stopwatch. "Fastest time I've seen in years," she announces. "You might be our next team captain." Brittany overhears, her water bottle crushing in her grip. The look in Brittany's eyes promises consequences that will arrive before the next morning bell. The cafeteria buzzes with lunchtime chaos when Brittany accidentally bumps Jasmine's tray. Cold milk splashes across Jasmine's lap, soaking into her new jeans. The cheerleaders' friends erupt in synchronized laughter. "Oops!" Brittany's apology drips with insincerity. "Guess you should watch where you're standing." Jasmine calmly grabs napkins and begins dabbing at the spreading stain. Her lack of reaction visibly frustrates Brittany. "Hey, I'm talking to you." Brittany steps closer, voice rising. "Your dad kills people for a living, right? No wonder you're so weird." The cafeteria quiets. Students watch, anticipating drama. Jasmine meets Brittany's gaze steadily. "My father serves his country with honor." Not everyone understands what that means. Her composed response, devoid of tears or anger, confuses Brittany, who expected an emotional outburst to exploit. "Before she can escalate further, mister." Abernathy approaches. "Everything okay here?" he asks, glancing between them. "Just a little accident," Brittany replies, voice honey-sweet. "No problem." "Be more careful next time, is all, mister," Abernathy says before walking away. In American history, Jasmine's analysis of Civil War strategy earns praise from Ms. Rodriguez. Excellent tactical assessment. Someone knows their military history. Brittany watches from across the room as Tyler and Aisha, both popular students, ask Jasmine to join their study group. The threat to Brittany's social hierarchy grows. Between classes, Brittany pulls her friends into the girls' bathroom. "She thinks she's so special," she hisses. "We need to put her in her place." That evening, Colonel Davis notices the milk stain on Jasmine's jeans as she loads the washing machine. "Rough day?" he asks. "Just an accident." Jasmine shrugs. They eat dinner together, a ritual they maintain despite years of separations during his deployments. He shares sanitized stories from his time overseas, careful to filter out the classified operations that earned him the nickname Eagle Eye among special forces. His phone rings. He checks the screen, expression shifting subtly. "Eagle Eye," says the voice when he answers. "Secure line needed." Colonel Davis moves to his office, closing the door. In her bedroom, Jasmine finds her locker combination written on a note slipped into her backpack with the message, "We know how to get to you." Jasmine opens her gym locker the next day to find her clothes missing. In their place hangs a crude costume, a grass skirt and tribal mask with racist caricatures drawn on it. Her stomach drops as she realizes what's happening. "Coach Wilson," she reports, holding up the offensive items. "Someone took my gym clothes." The middle-aged coach barely glances up from her clipboard. "Forgot your uniform?" "Not my problem. Either participate in what you have or take a 0 for today." "But this is—" "Everyone's waiting, Davis. Make your choice." 30 pairs of eyes track Jasmine as she emerges from the locker room in her regular clothes, refusing to wear the racist costume. Coach Wilson marks her clipboard with obvious disapproval. "0 participation points. 3 more and you'll fail the semester." Brittany smirks from across the gym, phone subtly positioned to capture Jasmine's humiliation. By lunch, social media buzzes with posts tagging #NewGirlFailure and #Can'tFollowBasicRules. Comments pile up, each more vicious than the last. After class, Jasmine approaches Vice Principal Hendricks about the incident. The administrator's office feels cold despite the motivational posters covering the walls. "Do you have proof someone took your clothes?" he asks without looking up. "The racist costume left in my locker, which you didn't bring as evidence." He sighs, finally meeting her eyes. "Look, Jasmine, you're new here." Sometimes students use racism as an excuse when they're simply being too sensitive. Learn to take a joke. Miss Rodriguez witnesses Jasmine leaving the office, recognizing the defeated posture. She pulls her aside into an empty classroom. "I saw what happened," the teacher admits. "Document everything, dates, times, witnesses. The administration won't act without overwhelming evidence. Brittany's father has significant influence over school policies." Jasmine nods, understanding the hidden message. Justice requires strategy, not just truth. In the hallway, Brittany gathers her followers, emboldened by another consequence-free victory. "She went crying to Hendricks and got shut down," she announces. "Tomorrow we escalate." She clearly doesn't understand her place here yet. The group disperses, plotting their next attack with renewed confidence. Jasmine walks home alone, her composure finally cracking once the school disappears from view. Tears stream down her face as she considers calling her father. The timing feels wrong. His interview with the security consulting firm happens tomorrow. His focus should be there, not on her problems. She wipes her eyes before entering their house, but her red-rimmed eyes tell a story she can't hide. That night, Jasmine pulls out a leather-bound journal labeled Evidence and begins methodically documenting every incident with military precision. Jasmine sits cross-legged on her bed, surrounded by evidence. Her journal pages fill with detailed entries, each incident recorded with timestamps, locations, and witness names. Her phone screen displays screenshots of social media attacks, organized in labeled folders. She creates a secure cloud account, uploading everything with encryption her father taught her. The process feels like assembling mission intelligence, another skill absorbed from watching Colonel Davis prepare for deployments. A knock interrupts her work. She quickly closes the journal as her father enters. "Everything okay in here?" Colonel Davis surveys the room with the same attention he once used to clear buildings in hostile territory. "Just homework." Jasmine forces a smile. That calculus is brutal. His eyes catch the edge of the journal peeking from beneath her textbook, but he doesn't mention it. Instead, he nods toward her window. "Noticed your blinds were open." Good to maintain privacy after dark. This isn't paranoia, it's tactical awareness. The same instinct that kept him alive through 3 tours in classified operations. "I'll close them." "Thanks, Dad." After he leaves, Jasmine hears him making his nightly security check, testing door locks, checking window latches, scanning the perimeter of their property. The routine that once seemed excessive now feels comforting. Later that night, muffled voices drift from her father's office. Unable to sleep, Jasmine approaches the partially open door. "Target surveillance confirmed," her father says into his secure phone. "Package remains protected. Timeline unchanged. Military code words. Not unusual, but his tone carries an urgency she recognizes from previous deployments." On his desk sits a framed photograph. Colonel Davis, receiving a medal from a stern-faced general. The citation text deliberately blurred in the frame for security reasons. Morning arrives after a restless night. Decision made, Jasmine calls her godfather while her father showers. "Uncle Mike?" It's Jasmine. She keeps her voice low. "I need your help, but you can't tell Dad yet." She details the escalating harassment, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. Uncle Mike, her father's former teammate, listens without interruption. "You've done everything right documenting like this," he finally says. "Give me 24 hours. Don't engage with the aggressors." Unknown to Jasmine, Colonel Davis passes her bedroom door during the call, catching fragments of the conversation. His expression shifts subtly, the micro change that his military colleagues would recognize as him entering mission mode. At breakfast, everything appears normal. Jasmine mentions a history project while Colonel Davis reviews his interview notes. Only his casual mention of visiting the school that afternoon to finalize some transfer paperwork hints at anything unusual. Jasmine enters Westlake High with altered posture, shoulders squared, gaze vigilant. She records each interaction on her phone's secure app, noting times with military precision. As Brittany approaches for the daily torment, she hesitates at the unfamiliar look in Jasmine's eyes, the calm focus of a strategist who has already mapped her opponent's defeat. The girls' bathroom door slams shut as Brittany and 3 friends corner Jasmine during lunch period. Brittany blocks the exit while the others surround their target. The trap closes with practiced efficiency. "Look what I found," Brittany says, dangling Jasmine's history project, a detailed timeline of civil rights milestones due tomorrow. "Impressive work. Would be tragic if something happened to it." One girl produces scissors, snipping the corner of the poster board. Another grabs Jasmine's hair, cutting a small lock before she can pull away. "A souvenir," she laughs, dropping the curls into the sink. Jasmine's hand slides into her pocket, activating her phone's recording app without removing it. "Why are you doing this?" she asks clearly, voice steady despite her racing heart. "Because we can," Brittany answers, tearing the project in half. "And because no one will stop us. Not the teachers, not the principal, and certainly not your killer daddy. You've done this before, haven't you?" "To other students?" Brittany smirks, taking the bait. "Why do you think no one helps you?" "They've all learned their lesson, and if you report this, we'll make everything so much worse." The bell rings. The girls leave Jasmine with her destroyed project and recorded confession. Later, Miss Winters, the school counselor, pulls Jasmine aside in the hallway. "I've noticed things," she says quietly. The way certain students treat you. I want to help. Jasmine studies the woman's sincere expression. What can you actually do? Miss Winter's smile falters. There are administrative complexities, but I'm here to listen. Thank you, Jasmine replies politely, but I have it handled. Between classes, Jasmine spots her father through the administration office window. Colonel Davis stands tall in civilian clothes, pressed slacks, and a button-down shirt that doesn't hide his military bearing. Principal Foster gestures animatedly, his forced smile not reaching his eyes. Just standard transfer protocols, Colonel Davis. His voice carries through the partially open door. I assure you, Jasmine is adjusting beautifully. Her father's face remains neutral, but Jasmine recognizes his assessment mode, the same expression he wore when evaluating security threats overseas. Brittany notices the interaction from across the hall. She pulls out her phone, typing rapidly to her inner circle. Daddy's girl tried getting help. Principal shut him down. Time for our final solution to the Jasmine problem. The message circulates among her friends, each reply more enthusiastic than the last. The plan set for tomorrow morning. Jasmine's phone vibrates with a text from her father. Operational assessment complete. Protocol 7 initiated. Stand by. Did you hear about her dad? Brittany's voice carries deliberately across the cafeteria. My father says he's mentally unstable from killing too many people. That's why they had to move here. No military base would keep him. The rumor spreads through whispers and text messages. Teachers overhear but focus on their lunches, unwilling to intervene. Jasmine enters the cafeteria to sudden silence, followed by resumed conversations too casual to be natural. In advanced placement history, Miss Rodriguez divides the class into teams for a strategic analysis of the Battle of Gettysburg. Your objective is to identify the critical decision points that determined the outcome, she explains. Work together to develop alternative strategies. Jasmine's team watches in surprise as she quickly maps the battlefield on paper, identifying tactical advantages with expert precision. If we reallocate forces here and here, she demonstrates, while establishing a secondary defense line along this ridge, we control both the high ground and maintain mobility. Her solution impresses even Miss Rodriguez. That shows remarkable tactical awareness, Jasmine. Have you studied military strategy before? Before she can answer, Tyler from her team whispers, That was amazing. Where did you learn that? The positive attention fuels Brittany's rage. During lunch, she gives a subtle signal to her friends. Seconds later, a milk carton flies across the room, striking Jasmine and splashing across her shirt. More food follows. Mr. Abernathy rushes over as Jasmine sits dripping with cafeteria food. What's going on here? She started it, Brittany's friend Madison claims immediately. She threw her lunch at us first because we wouldn't sit with her. Despite multiple witnesses seeing the truth, the teacher sighs. Detention, Jasmine. This behavior is unacceptable. Meanwhile, Colonel Davis meets Uncle Mike at Veterans Coffee 2 blocks from the school. Both men review information on military-grade tablets, speaking in the shorthand developed during joint operations. Asset infiltration confirmed, Uncle Mike reports quietly. Documentation exceeds threshold for intervention. Colonel Davis makes 3 calls in succession, each to unnamed contacts. His expression remains controlled, but his eyes carry the focused intensity his unit recognized before high-risk missions. After school, Jasmine discovers her backpack soaking in a toilet, contents destroyed. Her project deadline looms tomorrow. Instead of panic, she methodically photographs the damage, adding the images to her evidence file. She removes salvageable items, mentally recalculating her timeline to rebuild the project tonight. The strategic adjustment comes naturally, another inheritance from her father's training. Walking home, Jasmine notices an unmarked sedan following at a distance, 2 men in suits tracking her movement while speaking into concealed communication devices. Morning sunlight glints off trophy cases as students gather for the quarterly achievement assembly. Jasmine reviews her presentation notes one final time. As the only freshman selected to present her historical analysis, the spotlight feels both opportunity and vulnerability. Brittany and 5 friends surround her in the empty hallway, their formation blocking all escape routes. "Big day for you," Brittany says, voice sweet with artificial concern. "Ready for your moment of fame?" Before Jasmine can respond, one girl knocks the notes from her hands, while another sweeps them into a waiting backpack. Brittany steps closer, her designer perfume suffocating in its intensity. "Oops, guess you'll have to improvise." She places both hands on Jasmine's shoulders. "Let me help you down the stairs." The push comes with calculated force enough to send Jasmine tumbling down half a flight of stairs, but not enough to cause catastrophic injury. Her elbow strikes the railing. Her knee slams against the edge of a step. Mr. Jensen rounds the corner in time to see Jasmine sprawled at the bottom of the staircase. "What happened here?" he demands, helping her up. "She tripped," Madison answers quickly. "We tried to catch her, but she fell too fast." "Is that what happened?" Mr. Jensen asks Jasmine directly. Jasmine meets Brittany's threatening stare, weighing her options with tactical precision. "I lost my balance," she says finally, recognizing this isn't the battlefield for her stand. The nurse treats Jasmine's injuries with efficiency but little sympathy. "These stairs can be tricky," she comments while applying antiseptic. "But making a fuss only makes things worse." Some students learn that the hard way. Principal Foster visits the nurse's office, his concern performative. "Perhaps you should consider another school if you're having this much trouble adjusting, Jasmine." Westlake isn't for everyone. Before Jasmine can respond, a commotion draws the principal away. Through the office window, she watches Brittany's father stride through the administration area, his expensive suit and commanding presence parting staff like water. "My daughter mentioned concerns about the new student," he announces loudly enough for Jasmine to hear. "I want to ensure everything is being handled appropriately." Mr. Abernathy approaches tentatively. "Mr. Morgan, regarding some incidents I've observed." "Write up your concerns through proper channels," Morgan dismisses him with a wave. "The board will review them at our convenience." That evening, Jasmine finally breaks. The tears come silently at first, then in heaving sobs as she shows her father the bruises forming on her elbow and knee. "They planned it," she explains, voice steady despite her tears. "They've been documenting everything, Dad. Just like you taught me." Colonel Davis listens without interruption, his questions precise when she finishes. Not about her feelings, but about operational details, times, locations, participants, witnesses. His focus transforms her pain into actionable intelligence. Uncle Mike arrives with 3 unmarked folders, security classifications visible on their edges. The men spread maps of the school and town across the dining table, marking locations with military precision. "Rules of engagement," Uncle Mike asks. "Proportional response," Colonel Davis answers. "No collateral damage." Colonel Davis makes a final call. "This is Eagle Eye. Confirm green light for Operation School Board. Assets in position. Timeline 0800 hours. Morning announcements crackle through Westlake High's speakers as students settle into first period. Brittany enters the hallway flanked by her loyal followers, scanning for Jasmine with predatory focus. Today's plan, orchestrated in group texts throughout the night, will establish dominance once and for all. She spots her target at her locker and approaches with deliberate steps. "Ready for round 2? Yesterday was just the warm-up. Before Jasmine can respond, the main entrance doors swing open. Colonel Davis strides in wearing full dress uniform, medals and insignia glinting under fluorescent lights. 4 serious men in suits flank him, badges visible on their belts. The hallway falls silent. Principal Foster emerges from his office, face shifting from annoyance to confusion to alarm in rapid succession. "Colonel Davis," he begins with forced cordiality, "we don't have a meeting scheduled." "This isn't a meeting," Colonel Davis interrupts, voice carrying with parade ground authority. "This is an intervention." Students press against lockers as the procession moves toward Brittany and Jasmine. Colonel Davis positions himself beside his daughter, his posture radiating controlled power. "Principal Foster, I'd like to introduce my colleagues." He gestures to the men beside him. "Special Agent Harrison, FBI Civil Rights Division. Captain Reynolds, Judge Advocate General's Corps. Agent Michaels, Department of Education Office for Civil Rights. And my former teammate, Federal Prosecutor Michael Williams, specializing in hate crimes and civil rights violations." Whispers erupt through the gathering crowd. Principal Foster's complexion pales to ash. "I don't understand," he stammers. "Why are federal agents at my school?" Uncle Mike steps forward, opening a leather portfolio. "Your school triggered multiple flags in our monitoring system. Pattern recognition algorithms identified systematic discrimination and administrative negligence." "What monitoring system?" Brittany interjects, her confidence faltering. Colonel Davis turns toward her, his expression neutral but eyes laser-focused. "After 3 separate complaints from minority students at Westlake High reached federal threshold, surveillance protocols were activated. I'm not just a Green Beret sniper, Miss Morgan. I command a classified counter-terrorism unit that includes domestic extremism in its purview." He turns back to the principal. "As of this morning, I've been appointed Special Advisor to the Department of Education's Anti-Discrimination Task Force, with this district as my first assessment." The front doors burst open again as Brittany's father charges in, face flushed with outrage. "What is the meaning of this intrusion?" he demands. "I'm calling the superintendent immediately." "Mr. Morgan," Uncle Mike acknowledges him calmly. "Perfect timing. We were about to discuss your government contracts." Morgan freezes mid-stride. "Your construction company holds 7 federal contracts worth approximately $43 million, Uncle Mike continues. "All currently under ethics review due to your undisclosed conflict of interest." "What conflict?" Morgan sputters. "Serving on a school board while using your position to influence disciplinary decisions involving your daughter constitutes a disqualifying conflict of interest under Federal Acquisition Regulations Subpart 3.1. Brittany watches her father's confidence crumble, the unthinkable happening in real time. Her untouchable status evaporates under the weight of federal badges and military authority. Jasmine stands tall beside her father, no longer a victim, but a catalyst. Her documented evidence, meticulously collected and organized, had provided the final pieces for a case already building. "This was never just about me," she addresses the stunned students directly. "This pattern existed before I arrived. The difference is, I had the training to document it properly." Colonel Davis surveys the silent hallway, his voice now addressing everyone present. "Educational institutions should be secure environments for all students. When that security is compromised by prejudice and leadership failure, it becomes a matter of national interest." Agent Harrison steps forward. "Will require immediate access to all disciplinary records, administrative communications, and security footage. Federal investigators will interview staff and students throughout the week. Principal Foster attempts to regain control. Surely we can handle this internally." "That opportunity passed when you dismissed multiple documented complaints," Colonel Davis interrupts. "This isn't about revenge or punishment. It's about accountability." A crowd of students has gathered, phones recording everything. Jasmine catches glimpses of relief on some faces, silent victims recognizing that change has finally arrived. As the administrators attempt damage control, Colonel Davis opens a sealed folder containing evidence that extends beyond the school to implicate city officials in a systematic cover-up. The gymnasium fills with students, teachers, and hastily summoned administrators as federal officials commandeer the planned assembly. Superintendent Wallace, flown in from a conference 3 states away, perspires visibly under the auditorium lights. Agent Harrison stands at the podium, his bureau credentials displayed on screens flanking the stage. "Westlake High School is now under federal investigation for systematic civil rights violations under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act and Title IX educational amendments." Murmurs ripple through the assembled crowd as he details preliminary findings. 27 documented incidents of racial harassment, 43 cases of administrative negligence, and 17 instances of potentially criminal intimidation, all within the past 18 months. Effective immediately, the following personnel are placed on administrative leave pending investigation outcomes. The names appear on screen: Principal Foster, Vice Principal Hendricks, Athletic Director Simmons, and 4 teachers including Coach Wilson. In the audience, Brittany and her inner circle receive simultaneous text messages from their parents. Their phone screens fill with variations of the same message: "Come home immediately." Outside, news vans line the street as parents arrive demanding explanations. Colonel Davis stands with a select group of parents whose children experienced similar treatment, his military bearing providing calm amid the chaos. "Your children weren't lying," he tells them quietly. "The system failed them, but we now have mechanisms to correct that failure." Morgan Construction's headquarters across town faces its own siege as government auditors arrive unannounced. Employees watch as federal agents secure servers and financial records. By noon, Morgan's stock price plummets 47%. By 2 o'clock, 3 board members have resigned. Inside the school library, converted to a temporary command center, Uncle Mike coordinates with families coming forward with similar experiences. Each new testimony strengthens the class action lawsuit taking shape under his guidance. "The pattern shows clear, disparate impact discrimination," he explains to the gathered families. "When 94% of disciplinary actions target minority students who comprise less than 12% of the student body, we establish prima facie evidence of systematic bias." The emergency school board meeting convenes at 4 o'clock. Public attendance overflows into hallways as Colonel Davis presents evidence with tactical precision. His slideshow transitions from statistics to specific incidents, each documented with timestamps and corroborating witnesses. "This represents institutional failure at multiple levels," he concludes. "Not isolated incidents, but a pervasive culture of discrimination reinforced by administrative protection of certain students based on their parents' community standing." Morgan attempts to counter from his position at the board table. "These allegations are greatly exaggerated. A few isolated incidents are documented on camera," Colonel Davis interrupts, signaling Agent Michaels. The wall screen displays security footage from hallways, classrooms, and common areas, each showing incidents exactly as victims described them, followed by administrative dismissal of complaints. Parents gasp as the evidence mounts. "Every camera in this school has been archived and analyzed using pattern recognition software," Colonel Davis explains. "The same technology we use to identify terrorist cell behavior overseas. The statistical anomalies were impossible to miss. By evening, national media picks up the story. Federal investigation reveals systemic discrimination in award-winning school district runs across news tickers nationwide." In the district offices, Superintendent Wallace meets with federal officials, legal counsel, and Colonel Davis. "The financial implications are catastrophic," Wallace argues. "These lawsuits could bankrupt the district." "The alternative is worse," Uncle Mike counters. "Federal prosecution of district officials for civil rights violations carries potential criminal penalties." Colonel Davis remains focused on solutions rather than punishment. "My team has prepared implementation protocols based on successful military leadership models. Clear accountability chains, transparent reporting mechanisms, and protection for whistleblowers." As discussions continue, Jasmine addresses her classmates in a student-only forum organized by Ms. Rodriguez. The auditorium fills with teenagers seeking understanding of the unprecedented events. "I didn't come here looking for a fight," Jasmine begins, her voice steady. "But I was taught that injustice unopposed becomes normalized. What happened to me has happened to others before. The difference was documentation and access to resources." Her composure and clarity transform perceptions. Students who remained silent bystanders approach with their own stories. The depth of the problem reveals itself in personal testimonies shared for the first time. Behind closed doors, Colonel Davis presents district officials with his most damaging evidence. Communications between city officials and school administrators conspiring to bury discrimination complaints that might threaten the town's family-friendly reputation and property values. This extends beyond the school, he demonstrates, displaying emails between Principal Foster and 3 city council members. The systemic suppression of civil rights complaints constitutes a potential RICO violation. Superintendent Wallace finally grasps the full magnitude. "What do you want?" "Justice, not vengeance," Colonel Davis answers. "Implement the protocols my team has developed. Create genuine accountability. Protect vulnerable students. As darkness falls, Brittany sits in her family's suddenly silent mansion. Her father paces the study, phone pressed to his ear as business partners distance themselves. Political allies don't return calls. The family attorney delivers increasingly grim updates. "Your social media posts documenting the harassment are now evidence," her mother says, scrolling through Brittany's phone. "What were you thinking?" "Everyone did it," Brittany responds, her voice small. "No one ever stopped us." Across town, Colonel Davis reviews progress with his team. Photos of students and administrators cover one wall, connected by red lines showing influence relationships and incident patterns. The tactical assessment reflects his military training identifying key pressure points within the system. "Tomorrow we move to Phase 2, he informs them. Structural reform and accountability mechanisms. The team nods, recognizing the mission parameters have expanded beyond Jasmine's personal situation to address the underlying institutional failures. As district officials scramble to contain the damage, Colonel Davis receives a flash drive containing evidence that the discrimination pattern extends to 6 neighboring school districts under the same regional authority. The administrative hearing room falls silent as Brittany enters with her parents. Gone are her designer clothes and confident swagger, replaced by a conservative dress and downcast eyes. The disciplinary panel, composed of educators from neighboring districts, sits behind a curved table reviewing evidence files. Dr. Reeves, the interim superintendent, addresses her directly. "Miss Morgan, we've reviewed the extensive documentation of your actions. Today you have the opportunity to explain your behavior." Without her usual supporters, the carefully constructed facade crumbles. Brittany's voice wavers. "I didn't think it was that serious." "Everyone treated new kids that way." "Everyone?" Dr. Reeves challenges, sliding forward a statistical analysis. "Our review shows your involvement in 23 documented harassment incidents across 4 semesters. That's not everyone. That's a pattern of targeted behavior." Brittany glances toward her father, seeking the protection his influence once guaranteed. Morgan stares at the table, defeated by his own unfolding troubles. "My friends and I," she begins. "Your friends have provided written statements, Doctor," Reeves interrupts, "detailing how you orchestrated and led these incidents." Tears form as Brittany finally comprehends her isolation. "My dad always fixed things," she whispers, the admission damning in its childish simplicity. Across town, Morgan faces his own reckoning. His business partners gather in the conference room that once showcased his success. The company logo, recently removed from federal contractor listings, casts a shadow on the wall. "The ethics investigation alone will take months," his CFO explains. "Government contracts comprise 68% of our annual revenue. Without them, we're insolvent by quarter's end." Morgan's political aspirations dissolve as community leaders issue statements distancing themselves from the scandal. The mayor's office announces a special investigation into his influence over municipal decisions. Back at Westlake High, interim leadership transforms the environment. Foster and Hendricks remain on administrative leave, their offices now occupied by federal education specialists implementing new protocols. Teachers attend mandatory training on intervention techniques, learning to recognize and address discrimination immediately. Several admit their previous fears of challenging Morgan's influence over school policy. "We knew something was wrong," Mr. Abernathy confesses during a faculty meeting. But the last teacher who reported Brittany's behavior was transferred to the worst school in the district. The counselor who tried helping Jasmine receives vindication when her previously ignored reports resurface during the investigation. Superintendent Wallace's signature appears on orders to file without action multiple documented incidents. In the afternoon, Brittany's friends face their own hearings. The unity of their clique dissolves under scrutiny as each attempts to minimize personal culpability. Brittany said her dad would make sure nothing happened to us, Madison testifies. She planned everything and told us what to do. Their parents, confronted with video evidence of their children's actions, struggle between defensive instincts and genuine shock at the behavior they've enabled. The domino effect continues as previously silent victims come forward. Patterns emerge showing how Brittany's group systematically targeted vulnerable students, particularly minorities and those without influential parents. One evening, an unexpected visitor arrives at the Davis home. Jasmine opens the door to find a subdued Brittany standing on the porch. "I need to talk to you," she says, arms wrapped protectively around herself. Jasmine considers her options, then steps aside. 5 minutes. Inside, Brittany speaks without meeting Jasmine's eyes. "The hearing panel ordered me to complete a restorative justice program. Part of it is understanding the impact of my actions." "And you came here to understand that impact?" Jasmine asks skeptically. "I came to ask why you didn't just break. Everyone else did. What else?" Jasmine studies her former tormentor, seeing the frightened child beneath the crumbling arrogance. "My father taught me that power without accountability becomes tyranny. Your father taught you the opposite." The lesson lingers after Brittany leaves. For the first time, she questions the values that shaped her into who she became. As implementation of the new safety protocols reaches its final phase, district officials approach Colonel Davis with an unexpected proposition that could transform school safety nationwide. 6 months transform Westlake High from cautionary tale to national model. Colonel Davis stands at the Pentagon podium, addressing education officials from 50 states. Behind him, slides display the accountability chain framework now implemented in 17 school districts across the country. "The principles that protect our troops in combat zones apply equally to our children in educational environments," he explains. "Clear reporting structures, protected communication channels, and proportional response protocols create security for vulnerable populations." His task force, operating under Department of Education authority, develops assessment tools that identify discrimination patterns before they become entrenched. The military precision he brings to threat assessment provides unique insights civilian administrators previously missed. "Prejudice operates like insurgency," he tells a congressional committee. "It exploits institutional weaknesses and thrives where accountability fails. The solutions are structural, not personal." Back at Westlake, Jasmine chairs the student representatives on the newly formed Safety and Inclusion Council. Her documentation system, refined with cybersecurity experts, becomes a template for schools nationwide. The app allows students to record incidents with encrypted timestamps and automatic cloud backup. "The power imbalance that enables bullying depends on isolation," she explains to incoming freshmen. "This system ensures you're never truly alone." The school itself operates under new leadership. Dr. Matthews, the new principal, brings experience from successful turnarounds in challenging districts. Her first action was removing the trophy cases that once dominated the entrance hall, replacing them with a diverse achievement wall, recognizing academic, artistic, and community contributions alongside athletics. Teachers undergo quarterly training in bystander intervention, learning to recognize warning signs of targeted harassment. Anonymous reporting systems protect vulnerable students while ensuring all complaints receive investigation. "The old system rewarded silence," Mr. Abernathy tells his colleagues during a training session. "Our new protocols protect those who speak up." Across town, Brittany completes her restorative justice program. Weekly sessions with a specialized counselor help her examine the influences that shaped her behavior. Her father's emphasis on dominance, her mother's focus on social hierarchy, the school system that rewarded her family's status above character. The hardest part, she tells her counselor, is seeing myself clearly for the first time. The case draws national attention beyond education circles. Legislators cite Westlake during debates on accountability measures for school administrators. Civil rights organizations develop training based on Colonel Davis's protocols. Uncle Mike establishes the Freeman Foundation, named after his fallen teammate, who believed in protecting the vulnerable, providing legal assistance to students facing discrimination. His office becomes a clearinghouse for similar cases nationwide. What happened at Westlake isn't unique, he explains during a press conference. What's unique is that someone finally had the resources and knowledge to expose it. Morgan rebuilds his life after bankruptcy restructuring, his company now a fraction of its former size. The experience forces reflection on values he never questioned before. He begins funding minority scholarships at the local community college. Anonymous donations attempting personal amends. As Jasmine prepares to address a national education conference, she receives an unexpected message from a reformed Brittany asking to join the anti-bullying initiative. 1 year transforms Westlake High beyond recognition. Jasmine walks the hallway no longer as outsider, but as respected student leader. Younger students seek her guidance during transition periods, learning the documentation and self-advocacy skills that have become her legacy. The system works when you know how to navigate it, she explains to a freshman experiencing integration challenges. Evidence speaks louder than emotion. The freshman, a recent immigrant, nods gratefully. Before you came, people said this school was hostile to outsiders. Systems change when people demand better, Jasmine replies. But someone has to go first. Colonel Davis balances his continued educational consulting with limited military duties. Their home becomes an informal gathering place for students from diverse backgrounds, many experiencing inclusion for the first time. Weekend barbecues feature discussions where teenagers discover commonalities across cultural differences. My deployment objectives changed, he explains when asked about his career shift. The security threats facing our children required different tactical approaches. Across town, former Principal Foster works at the community center's after-school program. His fall from authority forced personal reckoning with leadership failures. The humility learned through consequence shapes his interactions with at-risk youth. I missed warning signs I should have recognized, he tells Jasmine during a chance encounter at the public library. My concern for the school's reputation overshadowed my responsibility to its students. His apology, one of many to affected families, comes without expectation of forgiveness, demonstrating genuine growth. Brittany's transformation proves equally profound. Weekly volunteer work at middle schools brings her face-to-face with younger versions of her self-privileged children viewing cruelty as power. Her presentations focus on accountability rather than shame. I believed my family's status protected me from consequences, she tells them. That belief harmed others and ultimately destroyed what my father spent decades building. Though she and Jasmine maintain respectful distance rather than friendship, their collaborative work on school safety initiatives demonstrates reconciliation possible through action rather than words. Brittany's father, once the town's most influential businessman, starts over with a small consulting firm. His office wall displays framed photos not of powerful connections but of his family. The scholarship fund he established now supports 5 minority students annually, his name deliberately absent from the program. Success built on intimidation collapses eventually, he acknowledges during a Chamber of Commerce meeting discussing ethical business practices. I learned that lesson at tremendous cost. The systemic changes extend beyond individual transformations. The school board now includes diverse parent representatives. Disciplinary procedures undergo quarterly equity audits. Administrative hiring prioritizes cultural competence alongside traditional qualifications. At graduation, Jasmine delivers the student address. Her words reflect both personal journey and broader implications. True strength isn't measured by who you can defeat, but by who you choose to protect and how you hold power accountable, she tells the assembled families. The systems we inhabit shape our choices, but never eliminate our responsibility for them. The audience rises in standing ovation, parents who witnessed transformation, teachers who embraced accountability, and students who learned that justice requires both courage and strategy. Colonel Davis watches from the audience, pride evident but composure maintained. The mission objectives exceeded expectations. The operational success complete. If this story of justice and accountability moved you, hit that like button right now. Don't forget to subscribe to Beat Stories for more powerful narratives that expose hidden truths and celebrate courageous stands against injustice. Turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly uploads of real stories that will leave you inspired and empowered.
You just witnessed the gap between power and responsibility. At Beat Stories, we close that gap, one story at a time. Subscribe and help hold systems, leaders, and gatekeepers accountable.